Harpreet Sahota. He's going to talk to us about MLOps, lessons on strategy from the field. Harpreet has a solid mix of education, experience, and technical chops in the field. He is a proud data science generalist with strong business acumen, statistical background, modeling capabilities, data engineering, and machine learning engineering know-hows. He feels right at home both working with engineering teams to deploy models to production and distilling complex data science concepts for business stakeholders. Harpreet is currently a data scientist at Comet, and he is the host of the very popular Artist of Data Scientist podcast. I'm going to go ahead and bring Harpreet over to our virtual DATAcated expo stage here. Hey, Harpreet, how's it going?
Kate, good. How are you?
Great, doing awesome.
Oh, I'm excited to be here, Kate.
Is that a little pumpkin behind you? What is that little light?
That's the Himalayan salt lamp, just kind of setting the vibe, getting the vibe right. We're winding down the evening. Got to make sure everything's feeling nice and relaxed before we get into this hyped up presentation. So,
okay, awesome. Well, I'm going to let you take it away. I'll be back in 10 minutes with questions from the audience.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Everyone, what's going on? My name is Harpreet Sahota. I am a data scientist at Comet, where we're building tools for machine learning practitioners and teams. I'm super excited to be presenting here today. Huge shout out to DATAcated, to Kate for this opportunity, and also for all of you guys for being here with me today. We've got an exciting agenda for today's talk. Specifically, we're going to walk through some lessons learned from this field in building your MLOps strategy. So here's a quick overview of what we're going to cover. We'll start off by discussing what MLOps is and dig into why it's being discussed so much in our field and why it seems like every ML organization worth its salt is beginning to invest in it. Then we're going to dive right into 3 lessons from this field. Specifically, we're going to talk about when to start implementing your strategy, how to start implementing your strategy, and also how to measure value. So what is MLOps? Well, at a high level, MLOps is just a set of practices and tools that are designed for teams to reliably and efficiently train, optimize, evaluate, package, deploy, and monitor their machine learning models in production. Developing and deploying models is complex. Everything from having to deal with a lack of lineage and explainability across workflows, models that underperform, models that decay, and data lakes filled with orphan model binaries. These are just some of the challenges that we face, and this is where an MLOps system and strategy can address some pain points that you're going to encounter. So when you're building out your MLOps strategy, you equally want to be an architect and a mason, meaning you want to approach it from both a technical perspective and a strategic perspective. While there's a ton of information available on how to build an MLOps platform from a technical perspective, there is far less information available on how to think about MLOps strategically. So let's jump right in and talk about when to start implementing an MLOps strategy. So to start, let's consider this quote from Chris Brossman, who is the Director of Data Engineering at The Real Real. And implicit in this quote is an extremely important point, one that has been widely written about. Many modeling projects fail to reach production in machine learning teams. This partly has to do with the general ML maturity and organizations having trouble articulating where and how to apply ML to drive real business value. And it also speaks to an important trend that happens as teams evolve and become more mature. Not only will your models become essential pillars of value generation for your business, but the pain and frustration that your teams experience will grow as your team starts to deploy models into production. All that, however, can be solved by an MLOps strategy. But it's not always crystal clear that something is wrong in your process or that something is broken. So what are these pain points, and how do you know if your team is experiencing these problems? Well, Chris Brossman from The Real Real, who we're already familiar with, heads up a team that's seen significant growth over the last few years. He's got over 25 people on his team at The Real Real working on building and deploying machine learning models. He recently shared a few early warning signs with us that could be useful indicators that our teams are ready to start thinking about ML ops. Let us run through a few of them, my friends. If your team suffers from inefficient workflows and manual processes where every step from data extraction to cleaning to modeling to deployment is manual or done with custom-made lines of code, then your team may be ready for an ML ops strategy. If your team is still copying code between projects, doesn't have a repo of useful code snippets, and is having to reinvent the wheel for every project, then your team may be ready for an ML ops strategy. If your team is always slow to start because of long ramp up time with tooling, and you've got ML engineers having to constantly context switch between projects, then your team may be ready for an ML ops strategy. If your team feels like their projects are always lagging behind when deployment times comes because it seems like supporting teams are always busy, then your team may be ready for an ML ops strategy. Look, I know that many of us don't work on super large teams of data scientists. Most of us are on much smaller teams. Some of us may be on teams of 5, teams of 3, or even the only lonely one hero data scientist. But teams of all sizes will eventually feel at least one of the pain points that we just discussed at some point in their evolution. By the way, all the hero data scientists out there, I feel you. I've been the only data scientist in an organization a couple of times. And let me tell you, even as a team of one, I wish I understood the value of dedicating time and resources to at least learn about ML ops. All right, so let's just summarize the win real quickly. So you should start implementing an ML ops strategy when your team size starts approaching 10 or more people. And if you've already passed that threshold and have a team that's larger than that, don't despair. It's never too late. Well, almost never. Next, you want to keep an eye out for the numerous warning signs that we have discussed. And finally, even if you're a small team, new to the field, or you're not already aware of the importance of ML ops, start educating yourself before it is too late. Now that we've know what signals to look out for and have an idea of when the timing is right, many questions still remain, most pressing of which is the how. How do we start implementing an ML ops strategy? We know that ML ops teams come in all shapes and sizes, both in terms of their composition and their procedures. And a key lesson pertains to team size and team structure. So what's the critical mass in terms of team size where it becomes in your best interest to invest in someone to manage your ML ops strategy full time? And once you've hit that critical mass, what is the structure going to look like? Who is the person responsible for implementing ML ops on your team, and what qualities do they possess? This person, who we can just call an MLOps architect right now, is likely going to be someone with a DevOps background who has had some prior exposure to machine learning workflows. And even though it's recommended that they have exposure to machine learning, it's not a hard and fast requirement because you can always bring people up to speed through training programs as part of their onboarding process. But your platform will become complex and an important product in and of itself, with a lot of different talent plugged into it. So it's worth having someone entirely dedicated to building and optimizing it. Chris at The Real Real suggests starting to think about hiring a full-time ML ops architect once the number of people building models on your team reaches 10 or more. So if your team size is starting to get that critical mass, you're wondering, how can I create value out of machine learning for my business? A key to successfully delivering value to your business using ML is to bring data scientists on as strategic partners. Thank you, Vin Fashista, for teaching me that. Data scientists and business experts each have a piece of the puzzle. Data scientists know which problems are feasible to approach with machine learning, and the stakeholders are business folk. They're going to have that deep domain expertise. The key is to bring these two personas together in the same room, virtually, whatever, to connect the pieces of the puzzle and identify which problems are both feasible from a machine learning perspective and can create massive ROI for the business. So let's see how the team at Ancestry goes about doing this. So over at ancestry.com, they're building models that scan billions of documents and identifying new information sources to add to the lineage records for individuals using their products. Their NLP team lead, Suraj Sabraveti, has shared a bit about how they've solved the problem of reporting and communication. The team at Ancestry tracks model development process live and transmits those live model development updates into live reports that are shareable and accessible by anyone who wants access to them, and that's anyone in the entire company. The key takeaway that Suraj leaves us with is that we should design a reporting structure so stakeholders outside the ML organization can track modeling progress and impact on the key outcomes. All right, so now that we talked about the importance of communication, what about architecture and infrastructure? So I know we all love a little adventure, but one place I wouldn't want to explore is the pipeline jungle. You may have heard of this place, pipelines all over the place for ETL, training, evaluation, and deployment. So Chris Brossman at the Real recommends building reusable components. So each of these steps is organized into modular reusable components, which forms the foundation of the ML process at the Real. When they're executed well, it enables continuous training practices that will lead to much faster R&D and durability of their platform. All right, so even if you built out a ML platform that is robust, reliable, and remarkable, as your team matures, your ML architect is going to feel growing pains. And sometimes these growing pains come with expensive remedies, with vendors writing up prescriptions to fill out the need for your pain. So there seems to be an infinite number of tools on the market today, ranging from massive end-to-end platforms to highly specific open source modular tools. So it can be incredibly noisy and challenging to parse all of the options and identify the right choice for your team. Despite all of the noise in the space for ML ops toolings, there are still some rules and heuristics that will help you approach the selection process with confidence that you'll make the right decision for your team. So when it comes to platform building and vendor selection, Chris Brossman tells us that it's a good idea to value flexibility in the tooling. So technology is evolving rapidly, best practices are still forming, and your team is evolving and changing rapidly. All right, so real quick, let's recap the how. All right, so get in the habit of keeping your code, pipelines, processes modular and reusable, and hire an ML ops architect once there are more than 10 people building models on your team. You want to bring data scientists and business stakeholders together to connect their respective pieces of the puzzle. Keep communications transparent and open between the ML teams and the business stakeholders. And you want to look for tools that solve specific problems and value flexibility above all. All right, so finally, let's talk about measuring the value of your ML ops strategy once it is implemented. So at a high level, an experimental process for building a machine learning system involves pipelines with various components. And as these arrows here indicate, it is an iterative and experimental process. Because of these feedback loops, experimentation is always necessary. So at the very least, you should have some way to manage and track your experiments. So a lot of machine work is really non-deterministic and highly experimental. And it's like trying to aim at a constantly moving target. Are you supposed to measure the value of your platform solely based on its ability to get your desired model evaluation metric? I don't know. That's a difficult task to do. Maybe a better way to think about measuring the value of your strategy is its ability to unlock faster speed and greater scale of experimentation. So at Uber, which is home to one of the most well-known ML platforms in the world, Michelangelo. They got some useful metrics to track efficacy of these experimental workflows. Specifically, they look for an improvement in time to model-ready data set. They look for an improvement in time to a production-ready model. And they look at the volume of experiments over a fixed time period. Essentially, how many hypotheses has my team been able to test? So when you're at the development stage, and these indicators are going to give you a great idea whether your ML ops strategy is making the impact that your team wants it to. So adopting an ML ops strategy is a crucial and challenging set of decisions for any organization. But my hope is that we can take away the key lessons and insight that some of the best ML teams in the world have shared with us so that we're well prepared to tackle this for our teams. My hope is that this lesson will set you on a path to success. And it's important to start walking that path. So as a final note, I just want to offer a couple of thoughts about where this field is headed in the near future. In the near future, all these tools, processes, and best practices will become standardized. Your adoption will impact your team's success and the success of your organization for years to come. My friends, it's been an absolute pleasure to be here with you all today. Once again, we are Comet, and we help data scientists and machine learning practitioners at some of the world's best machine learning teams. We help them build better models faster by providing a suite of ML ops solutions. We're committed to enabling data science teams and helping them track, compare, explain, and optimize experiments and models across the entire model's lifecycle. And you can catch a glimpse of just how we do that by giving us a try. Go ahead, pull out your phone, take a picture of this QR code, have us open as a tab on your phone so that you can remind yourself to go check out Comet later, right? Or just visit us at this link right here, tinyurl.com/try Comet. It's just a quick pip install and a few lines of code, and you'll be well on your way to managing experiments like the best of them. You can also come hang out with me in our burgeoning Slack channel. Would love to have all of you there. Go ahead, scan this QR code, send me a message when you land. Let me know that you've arrived safely. My friends, thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure to be here with you today and to share the wisdom we've learned from some of the best ML teams in the world. Kate, shout out to the organizers and sponsors and all the other speakers. And I hear you in my ear. It's probably way over my time. I apologize. Let me know if you got any questions. Thank you again, friends. My name is Harpreet Sahota. I'm a data scientist at Comet. Feel free to connect with me right here on LinkedIn. Cheers, everyone.
Harpreet, thank you so much. First question, what is in that Himalayan salt thing you've got going on? Because people are like, Harpreet is pumped. Usually he's so mellow, lots of excitement coming off of you. This is awesome. Lots of energy. So thank you so much for that really beautiful presentation. Actually, you weren't kidding when you said you had a beautiful presentation all ready to go. We do have a bunch of questions that came in. Let me go ahead and pull up a couple. Let's see. Oh, by the way, I don't have a team yet, really, but you've convinced me that I think my team needs an ML ops strategy. For some reason, I think I'm going to wake up tomorrow and just be like, my team needs an ML ops strategy.
They do, Kate.
If you say it enough. Lots of funny comments here about teams being, if they're under 6 feet tall, so is it a mid-sized team? Or if you're a team of one, it gets lonely.
Well, you guys are big for your age. How about that?
Yes. Let's see. We'll take one question here from Dustin, and he's asking, what's the coolest use case for ML ops that you've seen?
As a scientist through and through myself, if you guys know me, know my background, I come from a very, scientific type of background. So just experiment management has been the coolest thing ever. I used to have to track experiments by hand in a spreadsheet and then try to do visualizations, custom visualizations in Python and all that. But we've got an awesome tool like Comet that's just literally 3 lines of code. So experimentation management, that is my favorite use case.
Awesome. All right. Well, Harpreet, thank you so much for your presentation here today. Guys, follow Harpreet, check out his Artists of Data Sciences podcast, and check out Comet. What was the link again there, Harpreet?
tinyurl.com/Comet. try comment. Kate, also congratulations on another amazing DATAcated Expo, and it was absolutely fantastic. You put on the best events. Thank you so much. And my friends, remember, you've got one life on this planet. Why not try to do something big? Cheers.
Yes, do something big. All right. Thank you so much, Harpreet.